G'day and welcome back for more Survival Impossible. I am lying here with my helmet open and I am happy because I have a pressurized space. Oh, and it's a proper pressurized space, but I was given a few suggestions that I want to work on before I keep this space pressurized, so that means turning you off and turning you off and then opening the doors to the airlocks. Because then these ones will depressurize the space. Low and cold, and yep, ow. Whoops. I did not think that through all the way. So, the suggestions that mean that I need to get rid of the air in here for the moment were that this hallway should have a few things in it. Several people commented on the fact that at least today, when we build stuff in space or build stuff to go to space, volume and, space is at a premium. So you want to use every area to its maximum. So a corridor like this wouldn't just be a corridor, it'd also be a storage area. That doesn't always hold true for space engineers, but I do agree that in this instance, for this space, it would probably help if I did scatter some things along this corridor. So that means getting rid of these windows because they are occupying this block. And not these windows, but perhaps these ones and these ones can go. Again, this one can't go either. And the reason it can't go is because there's stuff on the outside block where the window would otherwise be. I'm also going to get rid of this window because my favorite idea of the suggestions for what to put in this hallway was, let's clear up this thing and put all the decorative blocks in it. So that's those. And I want button panels and I want LCDs. And that's all I can think of for now. Oh no, wait. The thing I was just talking about is the thing I want that is there. I want to put a dispenser in here. Because a dispenser is like a vending machine for the control center upstairs, so it makes a lot of sense to have it down here. So I quite like that idea. And that is why that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then I'll add a few crates down that hallway and maybe a couple of other things. I don't like the idea of having too many plants around the place, largely for fitting the theme of the base, which is that this is a functional base designed for resource collection. So if I'm going to make it pretty, it makes it feel too much like a home, whereas it's really meant to be work. If it was more of a homey kind of wealthy looking place, and if it wasn't using all of the battered textures and that sort of thing, then yeah, I think that could work. I'm also going to leave the corridor tight like this, because I don't like, and this was yet another thing that people were mentioning, I don't like the idea of having these half blocks where the full blocks are, because of the sloped pieces and how they interact with each other, and I always think it looks weird when you have one of these up against it. I could do the slope bases like I have in here, but again, I think I kind of like the tightness of this gap, and it was deliberate. I wanted it to feel like this corridor wasn't as massive as it actually is. So let's waste some more resources and get rid of these windows. Move a bunch of them to the outside. Putting these ones outside will require an attachment, which can be achieved quite cheekily now that we have these neon tubes down. So I think that is going to be one of the most subtle ways to attach a window on the outside of a block. Like so. Because that unbuilt tubes down, once the window's built, it doesn't matter that it's there. I think it looks just fine. I could have even put it underneath where it's even more hidden. Like I could have put one down here. So I think this is going to be my new favored way to create attachment points for windows and basically everything, because it is such a tiny little block. So for this side, these two can attach to the back of the dispenser. These next two will need an attachment point. These next two there. I'll just put one there for the sake of balance. No more extra corner lights where I don't want them. I often wonder with things like that block whether the artists who designed the block realized what they were generating when they did it. Whether they knew that or for this one I should make it really subtle because I reckon people are going to want to use these as little bracing clamps to attach other stuff to. Alright, the catwalks are still a bit weird, but at least I've fixed up the ones that went straight to a wall of glass. And what else do I need to fix after I created this corridor? I don't think there's much. I think what I might do before I do the interior over here, and just while I think about what I'm going to do with this space, since I kind of want to divide it up into a few different functional areas. I want to have a little bit of a lab, because it makes sense for them to work on some stuff indoors. And then I want to have a living area where they've got a kitchen, a couch with a TV. I want to have a nice little eating area that looks over and can see out to the view of the gas giant. And probably a little bit more storage space in there too. I'm also thinking, since I've currently got this depressurized, I might just quickly do something in here that I'd thought about after a few people mentioned it, which is punch out here, and perhaps here, and one more, to put in a few extra beds. Because it feels... oh, maybe not that one. Maybe I should have done that last one. It feels like this base has gotten a lot bigger since I designed it with 3 to 4 people in mind, so 5 or 6. Yeah, I can believe that. That's a bit more reasonable. Also realized I've been going outside when I've got a container to access stuff from inside. Urgh. Now I need to quickly check if those beds are airtight in their current positions. Close those doors. Close those doors. Turn you on. Yes, they are. Excellent. So now we have 5 beds. These 2 beds have terrible views. Even worse than these guys? Yeah, these guys. Looking at oxygen tanks. Oh well. No! Just wasted some air. Ah, that's so annoying. Why? Why do you do this to yourself, Splitsie? Why? So that was one of the things I wanted to do before the full interior design and pressurized working. The other thing is fix up this drill. Well, this counterweight's going because it looked terrible and it's not functional. It's going to get in the way of the drill retracting. So I'm actually going to retract the drill now, bring it back and line it up to hopefully hit more of that iron deposit. Potentially take most of it this time. So basically the reason this was not functional is when the drills retracted, they were going to run into these blocks that I'm currently grinding. So I need to get rid of them, and I think I will get rid of all of it. A few people did have a kind of cool suggestion, but how I might do something like this in the future. Uh-oh. I need to grind this before it goes down to the planet. No, 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 no! Oh dear. Oh dear. Now, I don't have cleanup off. I don't have cleanup on, I should say. That is going. That is going all the way down. Oh boy, oh boy. Though, I think we know, because of that first dead drop that I did, it's not going to do... it shouldn't do any harm. I'm not going to say it's not, but it shouldn't do any harm.
Energy low.
Okay, time to retract the drill. Then I have to figure out how I'm going to build the mechanism to be able to turn this. As in, how I'm going to drill out the extra stuff that needs to be drilled out. Because there's going to be quite a lot of material that needs to be removed. My plan with these drills is to rotate them around, so this one's the wrong way round, and the one that I removed was as well. I can then place one down, do as I've done with the drills on the front, put a gap, Put a further drill on once I find where they are in my list. Do the same again. And go for an extra 3 drills, oh, well, an extra 2 drills on each side. That way, as I start turning this, I'll be able to clear out a lot more of the surrounding rock. My other thought was to potentially use right-click drilling with these. I don't need all this stone. And if I turn on right-click drilling, I'm going to clear out a much larger area just at this front bit. And then I can hopefully make it a bit easier for me to move around. Or move the drill head around. That's the idea anyway. We'll see if it works. Control the drill remote control. Go to G. Grab our block tools. Add our drills. When I right-click, all of our drills start. I then enter the menu. I'll stay going. So the remorers have stopped, and those have stopped. No! Okay, I'm going to have to get into that remote control while I'm doing the adjustments. I was hoping that would work. Thought it might, but it did not. Remote. If I grab control, start doing that. I've gotten out of control, but then I think when I leave, it stops. Yeah. Okay, so I have to stay in control of the remote, which means I need to make this move very, very slowly to the left while this starts spinning. So let's turn this on. And then I need to move very, very slowly left and very, very slowly up after that. As it turns out, it tends to be helpful if you actually allow the thing to move at all. And if it is currently at 0, I would like it to move in a negative direction. So our lower limit can go down a couple of degrees. Don't know why I didn't do this with the first one. I just didn't think about using a remote control or using right click to clear out a little bit of the stone to begin with. It would have made things much easier at the early stages. How's this looking for aim? Might be a little high, but I want to go a little higher than that. No, I reckon I want to pretty much hit that square on so that I get most of the iron deposit that remains. So I need to tilt this down a little bit and maybe a little bit back to where it was from the right. And we're pretty good. The right-click mining just totally cleared out everything I needed it to do, which was perfect. So I should just be able to turn all the drills on and get this thing going again. Drills are on. Pistons are incredibly slowly extending. And hopefully the script that's going to turn it off when it's full is working. So I don't think I broke it with turning everything off. Ooh. But like empty setup actions. Oh yeah, it's the full drills. Cool. I added those drills, the extra drills, to the drills group, so that should be fine. Not that they'd really do much if they weren't added. But that should get me an even more incredibly ridiculous amount of iron, which means it's time to do some decorative work. Close this up. Turn you on. Turn you off. Open this up. Vent the space again, because I'm not sure what the door state is at the other end of this corridor. Although it looks closed. I might just make sure that the airlock down here is closed. Yes, it is. Okay, good. Close that. Toggle you on. And close that. Toggle you on. And then when it's warm enough, I'm going to open my helmet and see how much time I get to spend today with my helmet open. Probably as much time until I run out of water because I didn't bring any inside. Oh well, I will deal with that soon. As I was saying before, I thought about having a bit of a lab area, and I think this end is where it should work best because it looks out onto the landing area, and I just feel like it's out of the way a bit, and I can probably put something in as a bit of a divider here to make it a semi-separated room. So the thought I had was to put lab equipment there, and then maybe create like a little bit of a lab table with perhaps chairless desk like that, and then use, say, these freight there. Where's the single one? And there. So we've got a little bit of a storage area with a table next to it. We've got our lab. And then for the divider, I was thinking something like the lockers could work. And I kind of like the idea of putting them here because that will then feed into where I'm going to put the TV. I'm not a big fan of how this kind of cuts off the door a little bit, but I think given how wide it is, it doesn't look too bad. And I do like having this extra divider through here to separate the spaces a little bit, even if they're not completely separated. I do want to think about what I can do with this space though. Anything I could put on the floor that would make sense. In the very distant past, to kind of make an area look like a workshop, I used a couple of button panels on the ground that were in their construction state, but I don't know that that's something that makes a lot of sense anymore. Don't know if that works. Oh, I have two things here. I can put another table down. Yeah! A few work tables down here. That makes sense. That works. I'm happy with that. Now for the living space. This is the hardest bit. I have to decide first. I think I know where the TV is going to go. It's going to go here. Then how to do some couches around that. That kind of makes sense. So I almost feel like the corner couch and a straight couch would be about right. Yeah, that feels about right. That feels right. I'm happy with that. Then the kitchen. They're the kind of pieces I need to put in place first. The kitchen I always find difficult in places like this. I mean, I could put a kitchen just behind the couch here, against the wall. I actually kind of like that idea. I often like to put the see-through kitchen into something, but that works. And then, where's that bar? A single bar here with a corner desk there. Corner desk there, and corner desk there. Got a nice little wraparound table, and then what I was going to put in here was possibly another dispenser. It sort of looks like a fridge-ish, maybe. It's the kind of closest thing we got. And then I was going to put a little bit of storage stuff, like put a couple of the freights in behind here, under the stairs. Yeah. This space is coming together. Now I need a little bit of a dining area. We've got an increased number of crew now, so it makes sense to have a few more tables since we got 5. What I'd like to do is create 2 separate tables. And one of them will be up against the window, and the other is going to be one of those little square tables. So, and what I mean by the square tables, I mean something like this. And then another one up against the glass here. Kind of almost feel like I might shove another table in the middle of the floor. Because there's a big open area now. It doesn't make sense to have more tables than this. This sort of interior design is always going to be a bit wasteful. Because I find it so hard to get it right the first time. It's the sort of thing you kind of go, oh, no, I want to move that. And I'm kind of the same in real life. Oh, no, that screen isn't quite where I want it in my office. I need to move it. Like me, you're probably thinking right now, wow, that's a lot of white paint. And we probably should have something a little bit more colorful in here. And I will do that. I'm thinking I'll go with the paint choices that I've used so far, which is predominantly red. But I'm just not sure what to paint red at the moment. Because I don't want to do too much. It's always a danger that with this stuff you'll end up going over the top and it'll be just a bit weird. I don't like the chairs being coloured. I find that that's usually overwhelming for a space because there's a lot of paint on them. But maybe that's a bit of a start of adding some colour in here. I need to add a light in this corridor between the two things. And then start filling the corridor with junk. I mean, practical storage. I do like that we've got these freight containers as things to put around the place. But I don't want to just use them. I need to put some other stuff in these corridors. Oh, that was the other suggestion people had. That's right. Motivational posters. So I could put some transparent LCDs on a couple of these. And pop like a poster up on it or something. So maybe I'll put one there and one there. So I can try and come up with some safety posters to put on them. Because like with survival maybe and survival unlikely, I'm almost certainly going to come up with a bunch of different LCDs that are customized to this. Proper images rather than using text-based ones. Because well, performance-wise it's always beneficial. And it looks better too because it's high resolution. So instead of those things there, I'm going to put a pair of couches here. Able to have a different escape from the main living area, since they all kind of live cooped up in the same volume. And then further down towards the command pod, the control tower, is where I will put the little cargo containers. We go down here, we got one there, and then this block I'll put a whole bunch in. If you've got some funny slogans that you want me to put on a motivational poster to stick up, here, in here and here, give me some suggestions, because I might come up with some images or see if I can find some royalty-free images that I can just quickly convert to use for that. Corridor is complete. There's enough hidden here now that it doesn't feel just bare. And it's variable enough that I think it works. We got our extra vending machine down here, and then I just got to make my control tower. For the control tower, I need to keep in mind two really important things. One is that these pieces of glass need to be attached by something, and I need to have protection around this hole so that you don't accidentally fall down it. Even though falling down it, I'm pretty sure won't hurt. Yeah. Oh, that could have ended badly. So the things that can attach to glass that I'm likely to use here will be stuff like transparent LCDs, which I really should have thought about first, because if I put transparent LCD here, get rid of these two chairless desks, because they were what holding the glass on, and another couple either side, I've then got a whole bunch of data up here for the perspective that looks out on all of the important stuff. And I kind of like that idea. I also like the idea of some further LCD panels up above, maybe. Like one there, one there. And then what I need to do is work out how I'm going to arrange stuff on the floor so that this is the primary control bit. And part of that is going to be... Where is that control seat? There it is. Putting one of these in the middle. This is the trouble with having this hole in the floor. I would really like to have like a viewing gallery behind that desk. Maybe I'll leave that mostly open for now, and instead... Well, that's the other side I want to see out of. This side, I have an idea of what I can do with it. Get rid of that desk. And get a programmable block in there. And do my usual trick of putting a desk against it so that it's got a... So it's basically a desk with a computer. Even though it's very 1960s. Yeah, difficult one, this one. It's always the stuff that I find difficult, styling these control towers. Because we just don't have the stuff I want. I want a desk with a computer on it. With something that's not like a full control seat. And I want to have a desk that's shaped like this bar that doesn't have drinks on it, because that just doesn't really work for a control tower. Yeah. Just don't quite have the blocks that I would want to make this space work exactly as I dream of. Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting enough space, especially once these LCDs have some cool pictures on them. I was thinking, after it was suggested, of making a proper looking schematic of the drop pod for the ore, and maybe doing something similar for the catapult and putting them up on one LCD, putting things like power and all that sort of stuff using M Master's automatic LCDs, doing a few things like that, which I'll probably do once I've got the pictures ready, because doing it before I make the pictures doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because I want to make sure that I've got all of the bits and pieces that I need to make it work. something else fun that I just thought about, and I never really looked into these panels, but a lot of people probably already realize this. These buttons are customizable, as in what is on them is customizable. I can put text, I can put images, so I could actually make custom little images that say like, fire catapult, or, you know, something a bit more interesting than that. Yeah, there we go. Oh, the possibilities. The possibilities of putting stuff on these LCD pictures, on the buttons. Oh, it's going to look so... Oh, yes, 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 yes. I can make it look much more interesting. I'm very happy about this. Can you tell how much I actually looked through stuff when the patch came out? Whoops. Probably should have looked in a bit more detail. Oh, I gotta do that again. So there's a thing I've been doing each time I come back for all these trips with the stuff. It's this. Oh, dang it, I would fail it when I'm actually gonna show it. It's this. Seriously, failing twice, Splitsie. Basically, I've been using my jetpack, been flying up, and then I turn it off, and I launch myself, and I often end up landing on the railing and launching myself over. With the low gravity, it's kind of fun when it works. When you don't plan to show it off, and then have it all fail after having nailed it 3 times in a row before. There we are. One command center-y thing. It's all a bit weird, actually. I don't mind it. Kind of like the weirdness of it. I wish I could have... I kind of wish I had Colt's Command Consoles mod, because that would be the perfect thing to put up here. All of those consoles everywhere would work ideally, but I really wanted to try and see how I would go with designing spaces like this, not using that mod. Because hopefully all of these blocks are already, or will eventually be, in the Xbox version and the... So it's kind of nice to have it something that everyone could get some tips from in terms of the design ideas. But I'm fairly happy with this. I need those LCDs to really bring this space together though. And I could probably, at least initially, put Easy LCD on there. Just to have an idea. There we go. So now you can kind of imagine the rest of the screens with lots of information on them, what's happening, what's going on, and it'll bring this space together. We'll probably put more LCDs up around the place to put even more information on, and then that'll kind of make it feel really alive and in control up here. I can also put a lot of this information on these little screens here and put stuff up on the programmable blocks as well, because I think that'll help too. But all that stuff takes a lot of fiddly time, so I may well do it outside of a recording when I want to show off what this space has become once I've got the proper images ready to go.
Energy
but that
low.
Is our control tower done. And the drill is working just fine. As it turns out, adding those extra 2 refineries, I'm not actually accumulating stone at all. That's not how I search for stone. I want an inventory search. Stone. I'm not accumulating it anywhere. Although, why do 2 drills have it in it? I have to fix that. It's time to go back outside. Looks all piped. No, I didn't finish those 2 pipes. It's shaking quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see just how much off target I am when it gets down to the end there. That's going to be a fair way off. The last remaining major pieces of this base are going to be the radio antenna, so the big radar antenna dish thing. I want to point it back down toward the planet. And I also need to support this thing properly with some good looking robust armor work and build an escape pod. And then the rest of the work will be finishing things off like the solar array with some extra oxygen farms and just polishing up little bits and pieces like the control tower, putting stuff on LCDs, those sorts of things. So my aim for today is to get this scaffolding all set up and then set up where the antenna is going to be so that next time it's all polishing and then launching back down to the planet, hopefully by the end of the following episode. Fingers crossed, maybe, we'll see. So for this support, I want to line a row of armor up with the existing one, and kind of do a 45-degree angle thing the whole way down. The reason for that is I want to continue that sort of pattern that I've got with this cross into these side panels. It's always so awkward when you're at a funny angle. You need to be square on for me to remember which control does what with the rotation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's how far I want it to go. Then it'll be a full block there. Keep this coming down. Hope I hit the asteroid. If I don't, I'm going to have to do something different. So let's have a look at this from a bit of a distance. Yeah. That should end up looking pretty well supported. What I might do before I go too much further, just for what we can see and the time lapse, I'm going to put a couple of lights in. Now for the crosses, how we want to do these. Some more support structure like this. I think it'll be that. Then box. Then that. Should be right, yeah. Oh, I've placed so many blocks wrong. What is wrong with me? I did the same on the other side. And I think with all that under there, this should appear as supported as you'd kind of imagine. I mean, given the low gravity, I suppose you could argue that none of this was necessary. But then you could easily argue that given this is space engineers, none of this is necessary. And if we start going down that road, boy, a lot of what I spend a lot of my time doing becomes... Well, let's not think about that. No! Not more down to the planet. Alright, all welded up. Let's have a look. I think I might need to add another bit in here. Yeah, that's better. Didn't look quite finished without that piece. So I'm thinking for the escape pods, they'll come off at this level and I'll hang them just under here, since that's a clean drop all the way down to the planet. And the escape pods will have some thrusters on them. They won't be fully capable of flight, but at least they'll be able to direct themselves to a safer landing site and potentially bring themselves a bit closer to the base. I had initially had some dreams of pushing them off the base, but I think at best I'm going to be able to have something that kind of angles them down and drops them away. The reason the pushing thing doesn't feel like it'd work is if it's a piston that's doing the pushing, I'd need to stack a bunch of them in order to push it any faster than 5 meters a second, and the reality is that's just not going to happen. So it doesn't add enough for me to use the... it doesn't add enough for me to use a piston for it to be worth it. I might leave that open for now. But what I want to work on now is actually trying to figure out where to put this antenna. Because it's kind of an awkward thing. They're enormous. They're properly ridiculous. I mean, they're not ridiculous, but they're probably ridiculous to figure out how to fit. Because this, which is 5 blocks by 5 blocks by 3, and attaching onto the back, I kind of feel like you want something that's a full armor block. I was playing around with these in creative, and putting a hinge on the back just looked a little bit too flimsy.
Energy low.
And a hinge doesn't really give you anything to attach with, so I may end up putting this on a rotor, even though a hinge would do the job quite neatly. It just didn't feel supported enough when I was playing around with it. But if I want that pointing down at the planet, it kind of needs to be stuck off the edge of the base a little bit. And I feel like maybe having it down at this level rather than up here could be nice. Maybe even over here. And the thought I was having while I was designing this was maybe building a full armor platform in my same style as up here, but just one mini one down here with the antenna mechanism hung off the side, or perhaps doing a support like I did for the drill. Maybe that's a better option. Do a support that looks like this, and stick the rotor and secondary rotor off the side. I just found that I quite liked that shape and how it worked out. It makes no sense, but I think, again, I'm going to put the conveyors in. So my kind of semi-roleplay aesthetic reason for this is that if I have these conveyor blocks and then the tubes in behind, it kind of looks almost like machinery still. Whereas if I put armor blocks, it's really just armor. Just thinking about the scale of all this. Maybe if I go and try and hide the advanced rotor in there, displace it as far as we can, put rotor lock on, and what I can do is put one armor block, 2x1 base, then put the next advanced rotor there. This will at least give me some options for greebling around this because I really do want to. And then onto this goes our antenna dish. Oops, should have locked that. Power cable between the base and this thing. I'm gonna have to work out how to greeble around this because I really want this to look good. But right now I'm still not sure how to make it look good. I haven't played around with the dish enough to have a feel on what works and what doesn't. I probably should have played around in creative a bit more than I did. Never know though, could work out well. Sometimes it does. Sometimes my creativity is actually better in survival than it is in creative mode. Because I'm under some degree of pressure. I find that in those circumstances, come up with solutions that I would have otherwise dismissed in creative. There we go. Let's point it in roughly the direction. I'm not going to be pedantic about pointing it at the base, but I do want it to be kind of pointing at the base. Just because I feel like where this is, that's what makes sense. So let's turn it a little bit that way. Enough that it's noticeably not straight. And then do the same with this. Point it down. We have our antenna dish. Now I just got to make the thing look more secure. And I think part of that is going to be getting rid of that. Building a bit more around it. I think putting these catwalks on the side of the rotor kind of works to give it the feel that I'm after, so it doesn't just look like the flimsy rotors that they always look like. I can probably just do the same across here too. Braided catwalks. Such a useful block. I kind of want a light pointing at the antenna dish so that it's got light on it all the time. That might look a bit weird. Let's name this thing. Lawn chair. And then broadcast radius to the max. Because now I have a relay that goes all the way from the planet to 50 kilometers from here, which should, given that I'm 30 kilometers up, be about 30 kilometers into space. Hopefully that's going to be enough of a relay for me to be able to explore the asteroids around here and the asteroids into space proper in order to find the silver that I came up here and built all this in order to provide the infrastructure to find, refine, and send back down to the planet. Because ultimately that's what I need so that I can get a survival kit and potentially some other stuff. Because I'd really much rather have a survival kit before I leave the bonds fully of Omicron and head off to the moons that are around here. There we go, there's a couple over that way. There's one just there. Really don't like the idea of traveling that far without having a survival kit. Or medbay, for that matter. Much prefer a medbay, actually. Because then I can recharge quickly. I'm pretty happy with how the little decorative areas in here have turned out. And the command center needs just a few things that will be done outside of the game in order to make it come together. So next time, all I've got to do is build my escape pods and finish off a few decorative bits before I head back down to the planet and start thinking about how to make use of the remora and some other things in order to go further into space. I'm probably going to need to start thinking about how on earth I'm going to get fuel to this station so that I can explore. So there's all that, and plenty more to come.
Critical.
And I will see you then.